Hello guys, this is Kaishiro. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So for today's video, we're going to tackle top 5 meta decks of February 2023 OCG format. So these are the top 5 best decks that you should watch out for when you are trying to conquer the remainder of the February format. So without further much ado, let's get started. Coming at number 5, we have Kashtira. Kashtira, despite the hits, is a very reliable deck due to the fact alone that their boss monster Kashtira Arise Heart has a floating graveyard prevention effect, the graveyard banish effect of Arise Heart that is very prevalent against the best deck, of course, the Tearlaments. And also, they really have a strong card like Kashtira, what do you call that name? Kashtira Shangri-La. They have the ability to lock out zones of the opponent, especially against the other decks like pendulum decks like Pendulum Magician, Super Heavy Samurai that can lock out pendulum zones, and also against the trap decks such as Runic and Labyrinth that can Kashtira prevent their zones from activating spell and traps. So Kashtira is a good deck for me and good deck to pick up if you are playing it safe on the format. If you are avoiding the ban list, Kashtira is a good deck because they recently got hits, so they won't get hits, I think, on the ban list on March. So Kashtira is prone to Nibiru because they tend to special summon a lot on their turn. So Nibiru is a good card to topple them. And also, they are prone to take control cards such as Triple Tactics Talent that can take control their monsters. Shangri-La has Destruction Protection, so they won't get battered by Raigeki, Dark Hole, Lightning Storm, and other destruction card effects. So take control is the best board breaker to Kashtira. And sometimes Book of Eclipse, but Book of Eclipse is not prevalent right now because other decks are not getting affected by Eclipse at all. So you are lucky if you're a Kashtira player. You see less of Book of Eclipse right now. So due to the vulnerability of Kashtira to these board breaking cards such as this, a lot of Kashtira players tend to side deck strong going first cards such as Solemn Judgment, Pointer of the Red Lotus, and other going first cards to prevent those cards to demolish their board. So that's my number 5 on the list, Kashtira. Coming at number 4, we have Exosister. Exosister is a reliable deck also like Kashtira because it has a good matchup also against the Tearlaments, of course. So Tearlaments is the best deck right now. So the graveyard prevention effects of Exosister has a huge impact on their status on the current metagame. And also, they got more consistent due to the release of Sayak in the introduction of the Sakitama and the Aratama engine that provides us their starters to combo off and start their plays. They can just use the Spirit engine with Aratama and Sakitama to go into Caspitel to search the Martha. So they are more consistent right now in summoning Exosister Magnifica, and the consistency of the deck is not a joke. I play this deck also, and I can see that this is a very consistent deck right now due to the impact of Sakitama and Aratama on their main deck, and also they can play Shifter and other cards that stops graveyard interactions. That's why they are very good on the meta against the Tearlaments. The only downside of this deck is they are prone to hand traps such as Ash, because ashing the Marta and other cards like Michaelis is very detrimental against them. Ash Blossom is a great card to stop the Exosister, and also Exosister Caspital has a mandatory effect on summoning or upon summoning. So Ghost Ogre is a good card to stop them from snowballing out of control. And also, they are reliant on XYZ summoning mechanic. That's why they are very weak against the dimensional barrier that can stop the XYZ summoning mechanic of them. So that's my number 4 on the list, Exorcister. Coming out number 3, we have Bestial Sprite or the Bestial Apple Sprite. So this is a very strong combo deck right now. I assume this is the best combo deck right now on the current metagame format. They can set up a lot of negations on their board with the form of Barone and Apollousa and other negation monsters, and they can interrupt as well with Hieratic Heavenly Seals, and they are very consistent with the engine of Sprite and Code Talker engine, and sometimes Plug Spreader, and others play Adventurer token engine on this deck, but the most popular one is the Bestial Sprite. So this is the featured deck on his list. The downside of this deck is they are prone to Dark Ruler No More. That is a very relevant card right now to stop heavy combo decks such as this Bestial Sprite, Earth Good Stuff with Vernalizer and Adamancipator with Ijizu cards. So Dark Ruler No More is a good card to stop the board presence of Bestial Sprite. And also, they are very prone to Maxi, of course, the most game warping card on the OCG format. And also, Ghost Bell can stop the graveyard shenanigans of Bestial. So these are the cards that you should look out for when you are playing Bestial Sprite. And we go to the second best deck on this format. We have Purely. Purely saw a massive resurgence on the past few weeks on this format because they are a very good deck to pick up, and the most consistent one for me on this format because they got a recent buff from Sayak with this card. I forgot the name of this card, but this is the card that broke their deck into a massive one. So Purely can set up a lot of interruptions and unaffected boss monster with X Purely Noir. That is a very huge and devastating boss monster on the Purely strategy. The downside of Purely is they are prone to Gamma Shell, of course, because if you use Kaiju on the boss monster of Purely, they will be very disrupted with that kind of interruption to them. And also Kurikara, the Divine Incarnate, because Expurlinor has the ability to draw cards if a certain material is on place on the overlay of Expurlinor. So Expurlinor draws a card on standby phase, I think, or draw phase, I forgot. So Kurikara is a good card to answer that after the usage of its effect. You contribute those Expurlinor to summon Kurikara. And also, the popular tech options against them are Contact C and Retaliating C. One is prevention of their XYZ summoning mechanic, and one is the answer to spell card summoning mechanics of Purely. So, some are bothered by Contact C on this deck, but some play Ausa and IP Masquerena so that they can link off the Contact C that is summoned on their field to continue their plays. So some has preventive measures around this type of cards. So overall, I think Purely is a borderline best deck on this format if Tearlaments will get hits on the following ban list. And I think they are contending with the best deck right now. But Tearlaments are still leading on a very tight margin for me. So Purely is my second best deck. Coming out number 1, we have the Tearlaments Ishizu with no surprise. Of course, they are the best deck. Tearlaments is still the best deck until this date due to the uh, resiliency of the deck and the abusive mechanic of fusion summoning mechanic of Merely, Havnis, and Sharon. So for me, they are still the best deck, but it is not it is not that consistent enough for me. Unlike before, they are very consistent with the triple Sharon, triple Havnis, and triple field spell Paraleno. So the downside of Tearlaments is still the same, with the banishing effects of DD Crow and cards like Bestial. They can still get interrupted with these cards, and also Shifter, and also they tend to use effect on opponent's turn. So triple toxic talent is a good card to answer Tearlaments, and also they are linear on fusion summoning mechanics, so the barrier is good to topple the fusion summoning mechanic of Tearlaments. So this is my top 5 best decks. Short recap. We have Kashtira at 5. At 4 we have Exosister. At number 3 we have Bestial Sprite. At number 2 we have Purely. At number 1 we have Tearlaments Ijizu or Ijizu Tearlaments. So this wraps up my top 5 best decks of this format. If I'm going to have a top 6 best deck on this format, it should be Sprite Brigade because it is still consistent and can set up multiple disruptions, and Shureg is very powerful card to banish with an targeting effect. I just don't feel like they are strong enough to compete in the top 5 because the ceiling of this deck is quite low compared to these other meta decks. But nonetheless, Tri-Brigade Sprite is still a good deck to pilot on this format. So thank you for watching this video, and I hope you learn a thing or two. Hit the notification bell to be notified on the following content, and if you like this content, like the video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching. Peace.
Fighting ways to get away.